Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Batman Arkham Origins New Game Plus video walkthrough. We're going to be gaining access to the GCPD building. And apparently I'm going to the Batcave first to acquire the concussion detonator from the workbench. So this is one of the new items. I didn't really find much of a use for it, but that might just be once again personal ignorance where I've not discovered the great use for it yet, but I've used it in combat, I've used it out of combat. It does disorientate. I don't know, I didn't seem to get too much use out of it. But I'm going to continue to experiment and hopefully find a good function for it when I come to do the challenges and things, which I'm probably going to be sharing on video, if not live streaming, something along those lines. Because why not, you know? It's a fun game and I want to represent it as well as I can on the channel. But I finally decided to upgrade my HD PVR, and I don't know if I'm going to get the HD PVR 2 or the Elgato or some other brand that a lot of people say is really good. I'm going to probably do some research. Chances are I'll get the HD PVR 2 because I want to show some brand loyalty, because the PVR itself has lasted longer than any other piece of electrical equipment I think I've ever owned. And I'm not going to say except so-and-so, because if I do mention something, chances are that thing will break. I have terrible luck when it comes to this kind of shit, so it's best to avoid. Oh, by the way, guys, right here, if you're wondering why I just did that, it's because I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a moment later on in the game where we return here and you have to drop down into the lower access point, and I thought this was that moment. It isn't. The way in is through the door below the building I'm sitting on a moment ago. I was sitting on, should I say. But you can stealth into the door. I decided to take out a couple of snipers and a couple of people just to be extra careful, just in case the shit hits the proverbial. But this is all simple Batman 101. I should expect at this point you know exactly how to do this, and you'll have no issue getting into the first part of the building. But this guide has been a big decider of why I'm going to be upgrading, because my PVR still works, it just has problems, it has anomalies, and I have no way to fix them because there are no fixes. And instead what it does is it extends my workflow by double. Because I'll edit a video, I'll come to commentate it, and then I'll notice that the audio is out of sync. And not all of the audio is out of sync, it's not a personal error, it's the gradual delay over time. So most of the videos will be fine, and then there'll be one area that it's massively out, and it happens sporadically at best, but it keeps on happening, and this guide has been rife with it, and it slows down the entire process. You know, I would probably be 5 videos ahead of where I am if it wasn't for the fact I'm constantly undermining my own work, and it's really frustrating, and it's not, I don't have the patience for it anymore. It's time to put it behind me. So the upgrade is going to be great, because it means not only am I going to spend a large amount of money on a piece of electrical equipment, but it's going to be HDMI accessible. There's going to be none of this messing around with all the fucking cables that I have to plug in. There's going to be none of the trepidation about changing from PlayStation 3 to Xbox, because it's all going to be HDMI. HDMI is fast and easy, no complaints whatsoever. The quality is going to look nicer for me when I play, because I'm not going to have to be forced to play with a composite, and a composite looks significantly worse on nice televisions than HDMI does, because it's not real high definition, it's simulated. So I'm happy about that, and just not having this fucking problem. You know, it's not cool, it's not fun. But once again, this room conned me. I don't know why I don't have the double takedown. It must be challenge related or something related, but I don't have it, and it wouldn't let me do it then. So I'm sure people will tell me why I didn't do it. But there were a handful of opportunities where I've tried to do it in this guide and it just didn't work, and I was stood between 2 guys. It should have worked. Yet when I did a double ledge takedown, that worked perfectly first time. So I'm not too sure what the jack is with that. But in the police station, there seems to be an emphasis on stealth. A lot of sneaking about, a lot of avoiding encounters. I don't know if you can fight and see how well that goes, because the room below here, I was watching a Batman preview on stream, and one of my subscribers called Heretic, Batman does that ridiculous cable flip, he mentioned, I bet Chris will drop into the room you just saw then with 20 guys in it and fight them. Which is something I would have never have done, so I'm kind of surprised why he thought I would. I assume it's because I like a challenge. But when it comes to recording a game for a guide, you know, I'm trying my best to do what I think is the optimum path, or the simplest, you know, Occam's razor approach to everything. Because that's what makes a successful guide. And if you look at my numbers on YouTube, you probably wouldn't think I know much about successful guides. But I know how to make them, and I know what appeals. It's just getting them viewed is what's difficult. So that moment just then, I thought I could stealth past these people because of the fire extinguisher smoke. You cannot, you have to fight them, it seems. A lot of armoured guys here. It's well worth probably using execution moves if they get on top of you. I'm going to exploit the beatdown mechanic because I love it. It's probably my favourite addition that Arkham City did. Just for this purpose, I love stunning people and just chaining the beatdowns. It makes me think I'm Kenshiro, trying to get Julia back, or Yulia back as it's pronounced in the Japanese version. But something to point out, when you stun somebody with the glue grenade you're going to get later on, whatever you do to them knocks them down. So don't think you can hit them with a cape stun and then go into beatdown because you're going to ruin your combo. I found that out plenty of times at the end of this guide, so I thought I'd just restrict people. I didn't mean to say that, my brain just got hijacked by the text on screen. I just want to inform people, sorry. But after you take out the guard, there's going to be this dude that you dropped off the roof. Now this is the interrogation, I'm going to skip it, so Batman's just going to punch him. Or maybe not. Batman's not going to punch him. There we go. Forearm to the face. Not Anderson Silva. John Bones Jones style. Because he's a big fan of the forearms and the elbows. This here's a pretty tough fight. You'll notice there was a transition there. I got my ass kicked when I dropped down in this room the first time. And it's funny because the two people that run away over there, I thought they were bad guys, so I went to try and beat them up. And I ruined my combo and everything just went bad from there on. But once again, it's a pretty small environment to fight in. There's quite an interesting collection of guards, a couple of armoured dudes that are definitely going to ruin the flow if you don't know they're there and you don't accommodate for them. But it's all about getting that flow started. It's really difficult before you have the speed bonus. And one thing that I really liked about Nightwing, Batman, Catwoman on Arkham City is, for the most, you could beat a counter punch with a punch. You didn't have to counter, especially Catwoman. Catwoman was so fast that you could punch people and beat them when they were punching you. That is something that almost never happens with Batman, and when it does, it's all luck. So there's no way of predicting whether or not you're going to win. And I wish there was a way to change that. And I've already mentioned in previous videos, one of the things that I would love this combat system to have, and I'm going to reiterate it now for the people that didn't hear those videos, but there's a game called God Hand, and I haven't played any game quite like it, where it allowed me to dictate what my combo was. Every single chain of my combo, every single input, I could select what attack it did, what animation it was, all host of different things. And it was amazing. And it's a very, very good game that I would love to cover on my channel, but it looks so bad on the PlayStation Classic or whatever the hell I've got it on the PSN that it's very difficult to play, because the game is interesting looking and it doesn't translate to a 42-inch television very well. So it's hard to play, and it's really bad on the eyes. It's eye strain 101, and if anybody's ever really felt eye strain, you'll know it's something you want to avoid. But the combat sequence and the combat mechanics, in that game it's something else. It's so detailed and so interesting that I think it's brilliant. There are certain control problems with that game and certain issues in that game that are really crazy that take a whole host of time to get used to, but the combat mechanics themselves, on a fundamental level, are some of the most interesting and customizable you'll ever see. And I am sure there are other games that have done it. This is just an example. I would love that in this. And what I mean by that is I would love there to be a menu in your upgrades that has each of Batman's attacks during his rhythm-based combat mapped out. You know, maybe to his hands, to his feet. You know, maybe the first chain of the combat, the second chain of the combo, the third chain, the fourth chain, and the alternating chains. And I think it would just add so much depth to the game. And I played a game called Remember Me recently that did something similar to this, but it was nowhere near as detailed and the combat was just bad. Because it was a really bad Batman clone. But it had a similar thing where each of the hits in the combo could give you a passive buff, and you could chain together whichever passive buffs you wanted. So this would be a logical extension of that, with the God Hand mechanic. And what I would do is I would remove every single attack animation that took longer than a second to do. I wouldn't mind if I was sacrificing damage, sacrificing how many I could have. I wouldn't care. I would get rid of the spinning kick, I would get rid of the spinning elbow. Every single one of those animations from a takedown where he takes 20 minutes to flip them around and sit on them and check his watch and have a bowl of cereal and then he breaks their arm finally, all of those would be gone. They would all be the fastest, swiftest animation. Because how many times have you been caught with your pants down because instead of doing the quick jab, Batman's done the spinning, pirouetting kick? And you had nothing to do with it, it was what the game decided to do, you couldn't control it, and you died for it. Or you got hit and your combo broke. And it's times like that when I really wish there was just an extra dimension to the combat. And I would love to have a conversation with one of the combat designers on this game, or in any of the Arkham games, just to just put some questions forward to him and how he understands it and what he thinks of that. Because for all I know, they might have thought of that idea and then debunked it because it was too powerful, or it broke the balance of the game, or it didn't, you know, reflect the rhythm aspect of it. I don't really know. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but... Oh, by the way, the strategy I'm using in this room, real dangerous. I got spotted twice. The luxury is, though, the hook shot Batman grabber thing, this that I've just used, remote claw, sorry, is so powerful that when you have two enemies close to each other, it will knock them down, then you can go and knock them out. It really isn't much simpler than that, and if you upgrade this piece of equipment, you can string people to gargoyles without being near the gargoyles, which is just insanely powerful. Such a powerful thing. So you'll notice I'm on the upgrade screen here, guys. You've not seen much of this in the playthrough, because I've been editing it out. The upgrades that I get at this point are completely inconsequential. They're all to do with gadgets that I don't use, and I'm just getting them to progress the bar and get rid of the level up blinking thing. You know, the only moves that I think are necessary in this game are all the combat oriented ones, and now that I've learnt that a handful of them are hidden behind missions and side missions and things, like, look at this! How is that not a double takedown? I'm baffled, and it's probably something really silly, and I'm going to probably feel really stupid, but he just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. I didn't have it, even though I'd been doing it the entire first playthrough. Very strange. And apparently I'm hitting the menus for some reason. Oh, this is what I'm thinking. My logical extension there is maybe I have to do the Dark Knight challenges to unlock it. Maybe I've not unlocked it on this playthrough, and when I looked at the missions, they've kept over from previous runs, so they're not the same as they were before. But this is another strange moment here. When you go to hack this door, it's going to inform you that there is a scrambler on it, and we need to get a specific item to mess with the scrambler. But look how long that took. Like, why did it take so long for it to do that? And there's a lot of bugs in this game, guys. It's a shame that it's got so many rough edges on what is otherwise a very fun game. Like, the item we're about to get, on my recording of this guide, when Batman picked it up and he does his little prostration where he's holding it and he's looking at it, he did that indefinitely. The game had just bugged. He was just holding that thing, looking at it, you know, like a dog that was being shown a card trick. He was just looking at it, that's all he did. It was weird. So I had to restart, which is always frustrating, but it seems to be happening a lot. I have a video that I uploaded the other night where I fall through the graphics, and it makes no sense. All I'm trying to do is is use the grappling hook to get to the next part of the game, and Batman just jumps forward through the graphics. I wasn't pressing any other buttons apart from the right bumper. He jumps through the graphics and then he proceeds to fall underneath the world, and we get to see a lovely skybox and we see where all the geometry ends. So, you know, as somebody who's designed levels using 3D Studio Max, a pretty fun 3D program, that was great for me to see, because I like to see that kind of stuff and it's interesting and that, but I had to restart that section again. And thank God the checkpoint was pretty good on that sequence, because some of the checkpoints on this game, folks, are horrible. You know, they'll checkpoint you before grates you've got to open, and then there's cutscenes. You know, the checkpoint at the worst time. I'll never understand it. I really won't. And it's one of those things where, you know, if you're playing on normal or if you're just playing through the game as the average Joe gamer, you'll probably not have any issue with this because you probably won't be dying. But if you're going to go on to hard from a new game when you've got tiny life and no moves, you can get beaten up really quickly, so you're going to spot some of these checkpoints and how lacking some of them are. And at other times, it's great. You know, there's no problem. But it exposes the load times, which a subscriber and friend of mine, Big Benedict, asked me what they were like, because he's another guy who's going to be doing a guide for this game. I'm not too sure what he's doing, so do feel free to check him out. He's got a good channel. But he asked me, you know, what are the load screens like? What are the load times like? Because the game loads a lot. And they've brought back the routine of the bad guy kind of mocking you when you die, which I've never been too bothered by. But there is also a load screen. And the load screen can vary in how long it takes. And admittedly, I don't have the game installed, which might make a difference. But that's the one thing these days that gets me more than anything. Loading times. And the one thing I hope from the next generation of consoles is just the no loading times, the small loading times. You know, I don't mind that the visuals aren't going to be the big step they were from the last generation to this one. I don't mind that everybody seems to be going bigger and denser and brighter, and, you know, scale seems to be a really important thing because everything's huge, everything's monolithic. I don't really mind that stuff. All I want is that it loads good. You know, I don't mind a bit of texture popping. I don't mind a bit of popping at all. Popping's always been there. Try playing the N64 games. I mean, there was more fog on those games than Silent Hill, and they had nothing to do with fog. It was just a way that they disguised the draw distance and how much it lacked. Those who are more observant might notice a little cut there. I did the boomerang thing to open the door, but it wasn't working because I'd already opened the door and it had saved the progress. So, just a little heads up. But that's the end of the video, folks. Thank you for watching. I hope it's helping, and you take care now.